Coming to you from deep inside the bowels of a great big empty. Get ready for another episode of The Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell, author of 22 books, Marine Corps veteran, founder of the Second Amendment March, proud father of 7, grandfather to 19 and counting, and as a special bonus, I'm also madly in love with my own wife. My priorities in life are God, family, and country in that order, and I hereby promise to never compromise in my convictions. I may go broke, but I'll never go woke. And joining me today is my faithful co-host, my adorable, loving wife, Sara Coryell.
Hi, it's good to be here with you in Missouri. My goodness.
Oh, yes. Yes, we're here in the basement of my son's home.
House full of people.
Yes, 5 children.
Well, plus our 2.
5 grandkids, plus our 2, missing 1. And how many dogs? How many cats?
3 dogs, 2 cats. Plus they're babysitting the dog next door and all the fish.
I am exhausted.
There doesn't seem to be a lot of sleep happening.
We're supposed to rest up on vacation.
Mm-mm.
I don't feel very rested.
I've never had a vacation like that, actually. Is that a thing? Do people do that? Like they rest on
I
vacation?
think some people do. They like go to the Bahamas, they lay on the beach.
I think I would be bored. I go on vacation and I cook and I do dishes for me.
So
like what I do
so
at home.
basically the same thing you do at home, only at a different place.
And usually there's more sugar involved.
Oh. You know, I tell you, at the beginning of every show, I say, grandfather to 19 and counting.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy being a grandpa. It's not. These kids are exhausting. They're beautiful. I love them, but they wear me out. They can talk forever, and they insist on your undivided attention.
You do it. Yeah, I was watching you have a long conversation about books that one of your grandkids had been reading.
A Hardy Boy book, and
He gave you and the Nancy Drew, and he gave you the full plot line, all the details.
Yep.
Over the phone, broken connection,
And
so
I dutifully listened.
you were very patient,
Yeah,
yes.
I know.
And he was just loving it. I think he really needed somebody to talk to, and I'm glad that you could be that year for a little bit. That was good.
I know that it's important.
It was important.
And I know firsthand because I had 2 grandfathers, right? Both of them were alcoholics. One was a wandering alcoholic gambler that I think I only saw maybe twice in my whole life.
Oh, wow.
He died early. And then my paternal grandfather just lived 100 yards away, but he was a chain-smoking alcoholic his entire adult life. So I know how important it is to have a good grandfather.
Had 2 incredible grandpas.
You did.
I was very
You
blessed.
did. And
both World War II vets.
Yeah, and you
totally
miss them now that they're gone.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Well,
really different people. Like one of them always smelled of cigarettes, smoke, and coffee. And the other one, we took long walks together. But really different people, but beautiful guys.
Yeah. Well, I want you to know that I'm doing my best, but I'm ready to go home.
You just want some sleep.
I want some sleep. I do not do well in strange beds. I don't. I just don't do it. But, I'm not complaining. I love it. I wish I could do it more often. And once we get our schoolie up and running,
then
we will do it.
It'll be a strange bed anymore. It'll be the one that you chose.
That's right.
Yeah.
It'll be a semi-strange bed until I get used to it anyways.
We'll get used to it. Yep. We're going to have all kinds of fun. I hope. Lord willing.
Anyways, who is on the show today, Sara?
Today we are talking with Mark Walters, the host of Armed American Radio, all about transgenders and guns. Serious subject. Then we'll be talking to firearms instructor Trevor Degroote, the owner of Trinity Training and Security, and the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, discussing child abductions.
It's a pretty serious show today.
Yeah, it's tough one.
Really serious.
Hopefully we've got a good hero of the week coming up.
Oh, well, we'll find out.
We'll find out.
But before we get too far into the show, let's thank our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, Trinity Training and Security, and Apple Tree Media. All right, Sarah, what is in the news today?
Irina Zarutska, a 23-year-old.
Wow, that was impressive. This is the Ukrainian refugee that got stabbed to death.
Yeah.
That was Zarutska. That's very good. Most people can't pronounce that. So
I just not really.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed. Go ahead.
I think it's beautiful, actually. Irina Zarutska, a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee, was fatally stabbed on August 22nd, 2025, at the East-West Boulevard station on Charlotte Link's Blue Line light rail system. Well, there's a name. The suspect, DeCarlos Brown Jr., was arrested on the platform after exiting the train and has been charged with first-degree murder in North Carolina State Court and violating federal law regarding violence against mass transportation systems. The attack, captured on surveillance footage, has sparked national debate on transit safety, mental health care, and criminal justice reform. The victim, Irina Zarutska, born in Kiev, Ukraine, fled the Russian invasion in 2022 with her family and was living in Huntersville, North Carolina. She was studying at Rowan Cabarrus Community College and working at a pizzeria, aspiring to become a veterinary assistant. The suspect, DeCarlos Brown Jr., 34, has a lengthy criminal history, including convictions for armed robbery, breaking and entering, and larceny.
Hold on. We were just talking about all of the grandchildren. One of the grandchildren just walked up. Come on up here, Rachel. Just say, hi, Home Defense Show.
Hi, Home Defense Show.
See, and how old are you?
A little bit closer. There you go.
9,
9 years old. And next year you'll be?
10.
You see how smart she is? All the Coriel kids are incredibly smart. All right. So, Rachel, you came downstairs. What can we help you with?
We were gonna go. Daddy was gonna go head out and pick up Caitlin, I think.
All right. Tell him I'll be done in like 7-8 minutes. But if he has to go now, he can go without me, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thanks for being on Home Defense Show today.
Suspect, DeCarlos Brown Jr., 34, has a lengthy criminal history, including convictions for armed robbery, breaking and entering, and larceny, and was incarcerated for over 5 years. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and his family reported he experienced hallucinations and paranoia, including believing a government ship controlled him. His mother sought involuntary commitment, but it was denied, highlighting systemic challenges in accessing psychiatric care.
All right. Now, I want to stop you right there, okay, and talk about this, because this is why I picked this, because this is a recurring theme, and we've been seeing it for decades now. The common thread here in a lot of these crimes is mental illness. It just happens over and over and over again. What just happened with Charlie Kirk? What did we find out about Charlie Kirk's killer? Well, he identifies as a furry. He thinks he's an animal. Okay.
I did miss that piece of information. That's really
And
freaky.
he's living with a transgender man who is transitioning, and they're in a romantic relationship. It's just crazy.
He's just not right in the head.
Yeah. And this guy here, he's not transgender, but he's mentally
Schizophrenia
ill.
is serious, yeah.
This guy said that the material in his body made him kill this woman that he'd never seen before. It was the material in his body, and he told the prosecutors that they were going to have to talk to the material inside his body because he wasn't responsible for it. He didn't even know what was going to happen. But the guy, he's already been diagnosed with schizophrenia, and he's out and about, all over the place, committing crime after crime after crime. And we have a mental health crisis. We don't have a gun crisis. We have a drug crisis. We have a mental health crisis, all kinds of problems. And the answer, according to the far left, is, well, just take away more guns. that's not the answer to this. The mental ill people are still going to be there. This Brown, he didn't use a gun, he used a knife. So it's not the inanimate object, it's the people. Some people are evil, some people are mentally ill, but most of us are normal. We're good people. But that's why I wanted you to read this. I think most people already know what happened here.
Okay.
And I don't want to go over the gruesome details, but I just want to point out that mental illness and addiction, those are the biggest problems. And we talked about some of the problems, the addictions, drugs, alcohol, pornography, all of this stuff. This, the guy that killed Charlie Kirk, he was addicted to furry porn. And it's like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
But you cannot make this stuff up. It's just crazy.
Reality is crazier than
Yes,
fiction.
it definitely is. I'm
Sometimes.
a novelist, and I can't write stuff this crazy,
It's nuts.
even though I have a pretty good imagination. And I wouldn't even want to write stuff this crazy.
Mm.
It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
So I want to skip over this,
Okay.
and I want to go to the Home Defense Show Hero of the Week. Okay? This is short and sweet. Go ahead and read that for us, Sarah.
Homeless man killed while trying to help clerk during robbery. In Houston, Texas, KTRK, police are looking for two men they say killed an innocent bystander during a robbery Sunday morning. According to police, two men attempted to rob a convenience store on Bissonnette and Fondren just before 4 a.m. The store also had a payday advance business associated with it. Police say the clerk tried to fight back when the suspects got to the cash register and a homeless man attempted to help. During the struggle, the man was shot in the chest and killed. Police previously believed the man who was killed was an employee of the store. The suspects are on the run. Police describe them as Hispanic males in their late teens or early 20s.
Yeah, so that's short, but that's caught my eye because normally we think of homeless people as dregs on society. They're homeless because they're addicted or they have mental illness problems, things like that. And it's just a reminder that we can't lump everyone into one group and say, okay, this group of individuals, they're all bad because they're in that group.
Yeah.
Some people have a choice. This guy, I don't know why he's homeless, but he still had a good heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we don't know the guy's name.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't
brave.
know the guy's name, but I'm glad he did what he did
It's really beautiful.
and stepped up. He did the right thing.
I mean, not beautiful that he died. It's beautiful that he was brave. And so,
Well, he is our Home Defense
Yeah.
Show hero
it's a great hero.
of the week.
Wish we had a name for him. That's quite sad.
Yeah, but what are you going to do, right? Okay. So, Sarah, what's coming up next?
Next, we're talking with Mark Walters, the host of Armed American Radio, all about transgenders and guns. Then we'll be talking to firearms instructor Trevor Degroote, the owner of Trinity Training and Security, and the shootingclasses.com self-defense report about child abductions.
In the meantime, God bless and stay safe because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Centershot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Centershot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
In today's world, safety and preparedness are more important than ever. At Trinity Training and Security, we offer comprehensive training for your peace of mind. Whether you're obtaining your concealed pistol license, mastering CPR and first aid, or engaging in scenario-based training, we've got you covered. We look forward to working with you in one of our classes or bringing the class to your church, school, or business. Need security for an event? Protecting your assets? Our team provides private security, close protection, media crew escorts, high security terminations, and more. Always with discretion and professionalism. With Trinity, safety is more than a service. It's a commitment.
Liberals hate him, small children fear him, but God keeps on loving him anyway. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
And that was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show. Folks, we live in a dangerous world, and I want you to be able to protect and defend the ones you love. And that's why I have this show. It's my way of empowering you to accomplish one of your primary jobs in life. You are a protector and a defender. All right, listeners, before we get too far into the show, don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingplazas.com, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range, and Appletree Media. Without our sponsors, this show wouldn't be on the air, so we thank you all. And now, I'd like to welcome Mark Walters to the show. He's the host of the syndicated radio show, Armed American Radio. Mark, welcome back to the Home Defense Show.
Always a pleasure, Skip. Thanks for having me, brother.
Oh, it's always an honor to have such a big name. You are the biggest name in gun radio that I know of.
Well, I appreciate that. I did make the Talkers Heavy 100 this year of the top most important hosts and shows. So that's a big deal, but not number one. That's okay. To be anywhere on that list is an honor. It's beyond words.
And you have room to grow.
Yeah. Let's get that up on top of it. Sure.
All right. Well, hey, before we go on here, just for people who have been hiding under a rock and they don't know about Armed American Radio, just spend 30 seconds. Tell people where they can listen.
Yeah, you can listen to us on hundreds of radio stations across the country every Sunday from 8 to 11 Eastern, 5 to 8 p.m. Pacific, and Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 to 2 Pacific. You can do the math in between those time zones and figure it out, and you can check out everything we ask you, please subscribe to the podcast, Armed American Radio, on your favorite podcast platform. We're on all of them, and you can watch and listen to the show on social media, on Armed American Radio at YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and of course, we're live on X every day as well, either audio or video, depending on whether doing studio upgrades. Either way, and you can listen to the show and find out everything you need to know and check out all of our partners at armedamericanradio.com.
Awesome. And I highly recommend it. All right, Mark, we could sit here and small talk, but there's been a lot of gun-related, Second Amendment-related things going on in the country the last couple of weeks. And one thing that I've been watching is this Charlie Kirk assassination by not a transgender person, but someone who was living in a romantic relationship with another transgender person. And I saw on the news that the DOJ was considering placing transgenders on a no-gun list.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get your take on that. What do you think about all this craziness that's going on?
Well, first of all, we've seen no fewer than, I think, 8 to 10 confirmed transgender shooters recently over the last few years. So there's clearly an issue going on here. But that's 8 to 10 people out of what, however big the group is. I don't know how big the group is. And honestly, I don't really care. But we do not in America take away people's Second Amendment rights as a group for whatever reason, period. I am absolutely firmly against that. And I'll stand by that. It'd be no different than, you classify anybody you want as a danger. Imagine what the left would do. Imagine who they would classify as dangerous. It doesn't work that way in America. And as long as you have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms and you're no threat to anybody, you have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms. I would fight for that right for anybody. Yeah, it's blatantly unconstitutional. In fact, that position that I just articulated, excuse me, is also the position of the National Rifle Association, the Second Amendment Foundation, the Gun Owners of America, and virtually every pro-gun organization that I know of in the country.
Well, actually, I'm conflicted. First off, I'll tell you, yeah, I agree with you. But
there's a but in there somewhere.
Well, yeah, yeah, there is, because I really don't like transgenders. They make me feel very uncomfortable. The first transgender person that I met was with you at the Second Amendment March way back in 2010.
Oh yeah.
And that person did not leave a good impression on me. But I remember the day of the march, we were at the Washington Monument there, and this transgender person was on the stage speaking, and I was standing there getting, on the steps, getting ready to announce the next person as soon as, he was done. And a man started walking up onto the stage. He looked very angry, and I stopped him. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, "Someone has to shut that thing up." And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, listen to this guy. Listen, look at him. And I just said, I'm sorry. You can't come up there. This person has the right to speak. They're going to speak, and you need to go back and sit down. And the guy, he was very, very upset, but he went back into the crowd. And, I had mixed feelings about asking the transgender person to come to the Second Amendment March to speak because of my religion.
Sure.
I believe that it's immoral, all of that. But I also had the same opinion that you have, Mark. The Second Amendment isn't for just one group of people. It's for anyone. And transgenders, lesbians, gays, bisexuals, whatever, they all have the right to keep and bear arms. They have the right to defend their lives like anybody else does. I think maybe the bigger issue, I'll tell you this, and then I'll turn you loose with it. The bigger issue is, are transgenders, is there something intrinsic about transgender that makes them mentally unstable? And I know you're not a doctor, but what's your opinion?
Well, that's above my pay grade. Do I believe that there's a psychological issue going on? Absolutely. Do I believe it's a mental illness? Yeah, it likely is. But again, that's above my pay grade. I can't really speak anymore. That's my personal opinion. I could be right. I could be wrong about that. But I want to change the context of the conversation just a little bit, because I disagree vehemently, for example, with the Black Panthers. Now, I'm in the state of Georgia, and a few years back, Black Panthers held an armed march, open carry armed march on Stone Mountain, Georgia. And I defend their right to march openly carrying their firearms, rifles, pistols on Stone Mountain all day long, as I would defend your right to do so. As long as they're not violating any laws, as long as they are abiding by the law as it is, and the individuals who are there armed have a constitutional right, are not prohibited, by felonies or anything else. They have every right to do that. I disagree vehemently with their positions, but they have every right to do that. And I would defend that right, no matter what. And it's the same thing with transgender. Do I believe it's a mental illness? I personally believe it's a mental illness. I happen to know a young man actually in my neighborhood, growing up as a child, was friends with my son, and I knew there was something going on there. And then down the road, we find ourselves now in a kid in his early 20s, 20, 21 years old, is transitioning, and we knew that was going to be a problem. But he's as harmless as the day is long, I think. And I know the person that you're talking about. I've been friends with that individual, acquaintances, let me put it that way, ever since that march, and have met and introduced that individual and others at the Gun Rights Policy Conference many, many, many times. But again, it goes back to, we do not blanket everybody and paint everybody in this country and deny a group of people who the vast majority have not done anything wrong with that same brush. It's impossible. My personal belief is that they should get help first. Yeah. Psychological help. That's my personal opinion. And again, I could be right about that. I could be wrong. I don't have the answer to the question, but I am absolutely opposed to banning any group, and because of a label, from exercising their Second Amendment rights. I'm completely, totally against that. I don't care who the group is.
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I agree with you. And I think, well, when I read the headline that the DOJ was considering this, I thought, okay, something's not right about this. And I think they should approach it more, not from the transgender moniker, but more from, not from that label, but, basically someone's going to have to figure out, someone higher up the food chain is going to have to figure out, okay, are they mentally ill or are they not mentally ill?
Yeah, that's going to likely have to be done on an individual basis.
Yeah, I think you're right, because
Okay.
that's how we handle everybody else, right?
Correct. I mean, that's how everything's handled. It looks like background checks. Background checks don't tell us the future. They look back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They've been an utter failure. The vast majority of mass killers in this country, the vast majority, have all passed background checks and purchased their guns lawfully. Background checks don't tell us anything. Now, they can give us a history of I guess you could look at it as for example, credit report. Just because someone has had 10 years of bad credit, does that necessarily mean that they're a bad risk going forward? Well, that's what banks are going to judge it.
Mm-hmm.
And lenders are going to judge it, right?
Yeah.
So obviously there's now, but people also fix their credit over time.
Yeah, I have.
And change their tune. I think everybody has. I've been in that boat.
Yeah.
We've all been in that boat. Okay. So you don't want to blanket. You couldn't put on a form 4473. But if you've got bad credit, you can't buy a gun. Anybody with a credit score under 500 can't buy a gun. We can't do that to a group of people across this country, because let's face it, there's 100+ million gun owners in this country, many of whom are transgender. I would assume probably millions are gay. There's members of organizations that you and I despise that have violated no laws, that have every right to exercise their Second Amendment right, just like I do and just like you do. So you're going down a real slippery slope if you start taking a group of people by a definition that you've provided and banning that group from keeping and bearing arms. I could also argue on the flip side that gay Americans and transgendered Americans might need a gun more so than anybody else because of the way people view them. And that's the way they view it. I've introduced them as speakers at conventions before.
Yeah.
And many of them are at greater risk for that reason, because many of them are discriminated against. So
that makes sense.
We do not ban groups of people by definition in this country from owning firearms. Every American has a birthright. Now, here's the conundrum, right? We can't see the future. We don't know what's going to happen. Could transgenderism be an indication that they might be more susceptible to committing violent crime? I could easily argue that it appears that way when you look back at some of the latest mass shootings, including Charlie Kirk's horrific murder, obviously related to transgenderism, whether Jimmy Kimmel wants to believe that or not. Oh, I forgot. Who cares what he thinks? He's been fired. The Nashville shooter, for example, and we could go down the list. But again, that's over my pay grade. I'm, if the question is, do we ban all transgenders from purchasing firearms? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. That is blatantly unconstitutional, and I would fight for that on their behalf.
I agree with you. I wanted to get your opinion on it. We're from similar background, similar. We grew up around the same time. I'm a little older than you are, but really, my first experience with transgenders was on television. And you remember that sitcom with Alan Alda called MASH?
Oh yes, yeah.
You remember Corporal Klinger?
Wow, you're going back into the and back in those days we used to call them cross-dressers.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a cross-dresser. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's how he identified himself on the show, was a cross-dresser. I don't recall ever hearing the word transgender at that time. That's a fairly recent term and likely been adopted by the left.
Yeah, I don't think that existed back then. But he was cross-dressing to get a Section 8 so he could get out of the Army, which is totally different. And I know even if you determine that transgenderism is a mental illness, let's say, a year from now.
Skip, let me stop you for a second.
Sure.
You just brought up a great point. Let's go there. You said he was cross-dressing to get a Section 8 to get out of the military. Why don't you tell your listening audience what a Section 8 is?
Oh, Section 8 is when you're declared mentally incompetent by the military.
So Corporal Klinger was looking to be declared mentally incompetent by doing what? Pretending to be a female.
Exactly. Yeah.
There you go.
And I frankly,
there was some foreshadowing from the 1970s, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Probably haven't thought about it in those terms, but when you mentioned that, I hadn't thought about that, the Corporal Klinger thing, and for that matter, I haven't thought about MASH in many years.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, that's right there was exactly what he was seeking to do, was to be declared mentally unfit, mentally unstable, so that he could get out of military service. And that was his entire MO on the TV show MASH. So there's that, guys. All right.
And that didn't make him insane. That was a sane person doing something for a specific stated reason that made sense to him. But I know other transgenders.
But he thought his character would think, let me start dressing like a woman so they'll declare me mentally insane, mentally unstable, so that I can get out. Now think about that. There you go.
A little short-sighted, but I understand why he did it. But I guess one of the things that I have, and I'm not talking about the Second Amendment now, I'm talking about transgenderism, is that it seems to be pushed a lot in the social media, the public school system, and it's like kids grow up around this and they start to question things, their own sexuality that they wouldn't normally question. And from everything that I've studied, these people most of them seem to be depressed or alienated, and you can argue, well, they're alienated because people look at them and go, oh, wow, and then back away. That makes sense. I mean, that they would be depressed like that. But, you take the other argument and say, listen, if someone really believes that they're a woman and they have man parts, they're not in touch with reality.
No. Again, that's where the mental illness aspect comes in. These people need to seek help. And we need to look no further than Minneapolis at the Catholic Church, where the shooter himself again said in his manifesto and in his writings, and I'm sure you've seen that video, but you were literally watching evil walking on earth. Mm-hmm. And here's the reminder, folks, that evil is in fact real. And if you've seen those videos of that, you know what I'm talking about. But it does need to be viewed that way. But he said himself, he hated the way he was. So clearly there's an issue there. Clearly. I don't know any more than that. It's my personal belief that if somebody decides that's what they are, then mental health professionals should be sought for that individual. Now, then you can get into, should that person who's going through this mental health treatment be allowed to buy a gun? But that's an individual basis that we're talking about, and probably not.
But it has to be done case by case.
It has to be done case by case. You cannot blanket an entire group. There's a lot of people out there who are very comfortable in their skin being the way they are, no matter what it is that we may disagree with, that are no harm to anybody. In fact, honestly, the vast majority of people are not murderers, okay? No matter who they are. But we can go back and look at statistics that show us, for example, when you talk about, it's interesting when Charlie Kirk was asked that question right before he was horrifically murdered last week, when the question was, do you know how many trans shooters there have been? And Charlie's response was, too many. And he said, do you know how many mass shootings there have been in this country? And Charlie's response right before he got shot was, gang related or not gang related? And then he was shot. And I have an idea. I know where he was going with that. And the reason I say that is because we know what the statistics are. You know what the stats are. Okay, when you look at a city like Chicago, easy to pick on. I've covered tens of thousands of killings in Chicago over the nearly 20 years I've been doing this on the airwaves. Tens and tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of shootings. The vast majority of them is black on black gang violence committed by criminals with stolen handguns in Chicago. That's the vast majority. So you could make the argument, well, then black people shouldn't be able to own guns. That's a patently false statement. Black people should be able to own guns. We can't make that statement.
You know, you have to be careful of that. One, because simply it's wrong, and two, you know, that it's a two-edged sword. It can come back on you. I mean, what if you know, the next administration determines that the group that you're in is now a danger to society? So, you know, it reminds me, have you ever seen that movie Gettysburg with, it's got Jeff Daniels and...
Oh, yeah, many times.
Oh, yeah, I love that show, but they were talking, Buster, the first sergeant, and Colonel Chamberlain, you know, played by Jeff Daniels, they were talking, and he says, what do you think about the black race? And he said, anyone who judges by the group is a peewit. And he said it in a way that just really made sense to me. You can't judge people by the group. You have to take a man one at a time.
You know, I don't know that was actually said in 1863.
Oh, well, I don't either, but
okay. You know, but obviously they've modernized it to today to play political games and all this kind of nonsense. When we all know why gun control was instituted in the Jim Crow Reconstruction era in the South. And it was the state of Georgia, by the way, that took 140 plus years to get rid of the Jim Crow laws here in this state, which were designed specifically after Atlanta was burned down and after Reconstruction, after Sherman's march through Georgia, and then on into South Carolina right before the end of the war, that disarmed blacks was the public gathering laws in the state of Georgia, which were designed to keep blacks disarmed. And it wasn't until Republicans in this state just about 10 years ago were able to wipe that law off the books in this state because no one knew what a public gathering was. I mean, this was the racist roots of gun control that were instituted back in the 1860s, post-Civil War, Reconstruction era. So, I mean, there's a lot of dynamics in play to this conversation. It can go a lot of different directions. We can take it a lot of different directions. But the bottom line goes back to, absolutely, do you deny an American citizen their birthright granted to them by God, their right to defend themselves, not by man, their right to keep and bear arms, unless there are reasons. And the problem with that is a lot of times those reasons don't manifest themselves until it's too late.
Yeah.
It's
well, I think we're agreeing, Mark.
We are.
We're agreeing. You don't have to feel warm and fuzzy about something.
Correct.
In order to do the right thing. Sometimes you do the right thing just because it's the right thing, and you grit your teeth while you do it. And
they're tough questions. These are tough questions because there are no clear answers.
Yeah.
to a lot of these questions. There are no clear answers. But again, if the left were right, the country would be a lot better if the left were right. Let me say that. If the left were right, the country would be in a lot better position than it is. But if the left was correct, okay, in some of their assertions about gun owners, let's just say, because I believe the number of 100 to 120 million gun owners in America is a very low number. I believe it's higher than that. And the reason I say that is because if you call me and ask me in a poll anonymously on a phone poll or something, if I'm a gun owner, how many guns I own, I'm going to laugh at you and hang up. You're not going to get an answer from me. Mm-hmm. We really don't know. What we do know, the best information we have is guns are being sold at roughly 900,000 to 1.1 million per month in this country. And that's based off the 4473 NICS checks that come in. And we don't know whether there were 2 guns on that purchase. We don't know whether there was 1 gun on that purchase. We don't know if those purchases were even made, but it's the best rough estimate that we have in this country. Suffice to say, there are lots of guns in America.
Yeah.
And if there were, in fact, let's just say there were 120 million gun owners in this country. If the left was correct in their assertions, there would be millions and millions and millions of murders in this country. And there aren't.
Yeah.
So the vast majority of gun owners in this country, by far the vast majority, are good, decent, hardworking people who love having a firearm for personal protection, whether it's sport. There's a lot of lefties out there that own guns for different reasons than you and I. They think the country's going to fall apart. They don't like a gun, but they have one. Bill Maher comes to mind.
Yeah.
I have a gun, he said, and I'm never giving it to anybody ever, until I know every gun is gone. And that will never happen. Therefore, I'm never giving up my gun. That's Bill Maher. Okay. Bill Maher's not a killer.
No.
If you broke in his house and he's at home and you tried to hurt him, he probably would be.
Yeah,
lawfully
probably.
So, I mean, these questions, this is part of the problem with people trying to paint everybody. The left always tries to demonize us as gun owners as being somehow bad. And we hear them say, oh, yeah, he was a law-abiding gun owner until he wasn't. Okay. You could say the same thing about somebody got caught drinking and driving. You think that was his first time? He just killed a family of 4 in a minivan. You think it was his first go-around with drinking and driving? No. I mean, you can say that about anything. Pick a topic.
Yeah.
He was a great student until he wasn't. I mean, it's a stupid argument because all you have to do is look at the actual numbers. Again, facts are stubborn things. The facts and the numbers prove that the vast majority of Americans are good, decent, law-abiding people, period. Of all colors, of all stripes, the vast majority are. But there's bad apples everywhere, Skip. There's bad lawyers in prison. There's bad judges in prison. There's bad doctors in prison. There's bad accountants in prison. There's bad talk radio hosts in prison. There's bad teachers in prison. Okay. We can never rid evil. We could do the best we can to stop it, but that's all we can do is the best that we can do. And it's a conundrum. There's no question about it, but we do not take away the gun rights to go circle right back like Jen Psaki would say. That's what I like to call her. Let's circle back to that. It goes right back to the original question. And that is, no, we do not strip a class of people of their constitutional right to bear arms in America. We never do that in this country.
Well, Mark, I knew you would have an opinion. And, when I sent you a text to get you on the show, I said, you might have an opinion on this. That was tongue in cheek. Because you
what
have
would
an
make
opinion.
You think that?
Yeah, you have an opinion on everything. And
some good, some bad, some I'm not allowed to voice, believe me.
Well, yeah, I know, but your opinion is always going to be well researched and well thought out and coherent. So, and actually, Mark, you've helped me figure this out in my mind just by having this conversation. And I think you've probably helped out some of our listeners as well. So I thank you for that.
Well, isn't it interesting that you say that? Because isn't that what Charlie Kirk was trying to do?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. And he was absolutely, and he was killed for it. He was murdered for it. It's all this, it's been a very sad week in America, to be very honest. Working in this field was difficult last week because I was on the air when that was all breaking, and I had to notify my audience after my third break, after I was able to confirm that Charlie Kirk had in fact passed away. And that was all happening live on the air. And it was very difficult. Charlie Kirk was a member of the Salem Radio Network family like I am. And if you visit the srnonline.com webpage, my picture is right below his on the 8 faces of the talk radio hosts of the Daytime Talkers on Salem. I had been working through third-party back channels through the network to get him on my program just 2 to 3 weeks ago. So this really hit home. And when I see the response, like when I go to Drudge Report today, left-wing garbage outlet that's become, because Matt Drudge is a sellout. That's a different conversation for a different day and a different show topic. But they've got Jimmy Kimmel's picture up there because the left is trying to martyr Jimmy Kimmel less than a week after Charlie Kirk was murdered because of what he was talking about. And they're more concerned about Jimmy Kimmel being fired by ABC, claiming it was because of what he talked about. It was not a free speech issue with him. In fact, it was completely different than that. It was an employer saying, you know what, I'm sick and tired of this. I don't need my brand being tarnished anymore. His numbers are in the toilet. You're fired. And people forget. And I think it's important that people like you and I, when we have a microphone, make this point and remind people that the First Amendment is a constraint on the federal government, not your private employers, ladies and gentlemen. You do not have a First Amendment right at your place of employment. You don't believe me? Go to work tomorrow and have, tell your employer what you actually think about him. Okay. And find out if you have a job on Monday. You won't. Yeah. And you can't claim it's a violation of your free speech rights because you don't have that. You work at the pleasure of your employer. So it's important that we put this out there because the left is trying to taint what's happening in the face of what happened with Charlie Kirk, who was murdered because they didn't like what he said, period. It's despicable. We're in a very bad place in this country right now. I don't feel real good about it.
Yeah, I know. I'm a little bit encouraged, though. You mentioned Bill Maher and Jay Leno, and there have been several other far left celebrities that have come out and said, hey, listen, you guys are going too far. It stops before you get the violence.
They have their humanity. These people still have a sense of humanity. Yeah. And, that lack of humanity is on full display in this country right now. And I'll tell you what does encourage me. And if my family is any indication, you're going to see, and as of right now, as you and I speak today, over 51,000 new chapter requests for Turning Point have been submitted to Turning Point USA, to TPUSA in Phoenix. Over 51,000. And that number is going to continue to grow. And I mentioned my family. I sent my daughter and my niece to the TPUSA event in Phoenix, which is their huge event, 2 years ago. It occurs right about the week before Christmas. And they had a blast. They had an absolute ball. They couldn't wait to go back. And the following year, they were unable to make it work because of work and school issues. But this year, my son and my nephew are going with my daughter and my niece. So we've doubled the attendance just in my household. And I couldn't get a hotel room within 20 miles of Phoenix. Fortunately, I have a lot of contacts out there, and I was able to get them a room about 12 miles away. That event is going to be ginormous. So if there's any indication here, and it's all pointing in that legacy of Kirk's and TPUSA and the things that we stand for, they have no idea the beast that they've awakened here. And that's very positive. Totally. That's a very positive. I feel very good about that because these are young kids, Gen Z. I guess they call themselves Gen Z. I don't know. But whatever this generation calls themselves now, I get confused too. Whatever they call themselves now, it appears to be on the right track. And when you look at what's happening with these idiots getting fired for just professors, educators, I don't want that person teaching my child. I don't want that person cooking my food. If I were to walk in a restaurant and sit at a diner where the cooks can see me and I have a MAGA hat on or any type of conservative t-shirt on, I don't want them cooking my food. I don't want the Delta pilot who hates my guts flying my jet. Particularly if I'm a conservative group going to a conservative function on a commercial airliner with a pilot that hates us all. I don't want that person anywhere near those controls. And I don't want, as I said, I don't want those people teaching my children. And I don't want those doctors operating on me. And I don't want the anesthesiologist. Most people don't know this, but the anesthesiologist makes more money than the guy cutting you open. They're the ones keeping you alive on the table. Imagine coming from some type of conservative function or what shirt you're wearing and you need emergency medical care and you've got someone keeping you alive on a table. You've seen some of the comments that they've said. I don't want that person working on me. I think it's coming home to roost. And I think what's happening in America today is we're finally at a point where this cancer that has infected media in this country for many years and our institutional systems for many years and our entertainment factions for years is now coming home to roost, and Americans have had enough. We are fed up with it. And
I
how
agree.
this eventually manifests itself, I don't know. But I think in the long run, it's a positive. They will go, they're not going to go quietly into the good night. Freedom, faith, love, that will all prevail, ladies and gentlemen. It will prevail. Good will triumph over evil, but it's going to be a difficult fight. So be forewarned.
All righty. All right, Mark, we are out of time, but I appreciate everything that you've said. And I think we, as usual, we mostly agree, and appreciate just how eloquent you said everything. So
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I love you, Skip. Ask me. I'll come on anytime you want, brother.
All right, you've got it. Well, Mark, before you go, tell us one more time about Armed American Radio.
ArmedAmericanRadio.com, Sundays, 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern, 5 to 8 Pacific on hundreds of radio stations around the nation. Monday through Friday, 4 to 5 Eastern, 1 to 2 Pacific on about 65 to 85 stations. I've lost count. And you can find everything at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast. Join us and follow us over at Twitter at AARMark. You can watch us on YouTube, Rumble, Facebook.
All right, fantastic. Mark, thank you very much for being on the Home Defense Show today.
You bet, Skip. Love you. Thanks for having me.
All right, this is Skip Coryell on Home Defense Show. Coming up next, we'll be speaking with firearms instructor and the owner of Trinity Training and Security, Trevor Degroote from Michigan, in the shootingclasses.com self-defense report, where we get some details on self-defense. During the break, I want you to log into rumble.com and search on the Home Defense Show. I posted a series of entertaining and educational videos there just for you. Check them out, and don't forget to like, share, and follow. God bless and stay safe.
Because we will be right back.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
At Center Shot Gun Range, we are passionate about training. Don't know where to start? We offer a 1-hour new shooter seminar to introduce you to the world of firearms and help you find training opportunities specific to you. Concealed carry, home defense, firearm safety, AR-15, private one-on-one training, custom training, or maybe you're on a security team looking to protect your church or business. We even offer weekday morning and evening classes. Center Shot Gun Range has you covered. Start your journey at centershotgunrange.com.
Firearms training should be easy. Instructors can focus on teaching and not worry about all the complex paperwork and management behind the scenes. Just pull the trigger and let us do the administrative work. Welcome to shootingclasses.com.
Attention business owners. Are you leaving your website open to security issues and hacking due to a lack of maintenance or overseas outsourcing? Don't let that happen to your business. Choose experienced U.S.-based website developers that can customize your website to fit your specific needs. Appletree MediaWorks has been growing businesses online since 2009. With over 80 years of combined experience, their team conducts constant research and development to keep up with ever-changing online threats. Your website deserves the best protection available. Call Appletree MediaWorks today at 877-977-1364 to keep your website secure and grow your business online. Or visit appletree.media.
Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If this sounds good to you, you sound good to me. And I'd like to help you do those things. Avoid danger, save lives, and keep your loved ones safe. If you're looking for more excitement in your life, we have nothing to offer you. But if you are a thoughtful, responsible, nonviolent man or woman, we'd love to teach you what to do if something crazy happens. More importantly, we'd like to teach you what not to do. We currently have over 500,000 members. They are doctors and single moms and firemen and grandmothers and veterans and Democrats and Republicans and members of every faith. But the one thing they all have in common is that they know exactly what to do if something crazy happens. When you're with one of our members, you are safe. Our members know how to de-escalate situations. They know how to calm things down. We are the United States Concealed Carry Association. See what we're all about at usconcealedcarry.com.
Discover the little-known backstory of the U.S. Concealed Carry Association at usconcealedcarry.com.
The mere sound of his voice makes women swoon and men storm the gates of hell. Welcome back to the Home Defense Show with Skip Coryell.
That was the beautiful and sultry voice of Golden Glenn, the official announcer of the Home Defense Show, and I'm your host, Skip Coryell. Don't forget to check out our sponsors, United States Concealed Carry Association, shootingclasses.com, Apple Tree Media, and Centershot Indoor Gun Range for all your training and equipment needs. And now it's time for our weekly self-defense report, sponsored by shootingclasses.com. And today we're speaking with firearms instructor and owner of Trinity Training and Security, Trevor Degroote from Michigan. Trevor, thanks for coming back on the Home Defense Show today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Skip.
All right, not a problem. It's always good to have you on the show. Well, you know the drill. You've listened to this before, but before we launch into it, go ahead, tell us, just spend about 30 seconds, tell us about Trinity Training and Security.
Yeah, so we are a training and security company. So we have a couple different avenues that we focus on, primarily being private security, where we have everything from venue security to executive protection. And we've got quite a few guys and gals that work in that capacity and various different roles. And then on the training side of the house, we do everything from CPL classes, concealed pistol license classes, to advanced pistol classes, CPR, AED, first aid, our emergency medical class, which is geared toward the armed citizen, where we go through CPR, AED, first aid, and then hemorrhage control techniques and tools and things like that. Onto active shooter, scenario-based training. We have multiple facets of both sides of the house. So,
hey, it sounds like you are a one-stop shopping place for security, which is good.
That's the goal. Absolutely.
All right. Well, and you're also United States Concealed Carry Association instructor, so
Correct.
You should be pretty good at analyzing this here. I'm going to go ahead and read the article to you, Trevor, and then you take first crack at it, and I'll go behind you, and then we'll just bat it back and forth for about 20 minutes. All right?
Sounds great.
All right. This article from CBS News, it says Los Angeles mother speaks after 3 kidnapped children hospitalized following wild pursuit crash. A mother is speaking out after her 3 boys were hospitalized on Friday when a man stole her car and led authorities on a wild pursuit across Los Angeles County that ended with a crash on the Pacific Coast Highway. Quote, "You blink and you see a stranger in the car with your kids," said Tersa Tax while speaking with CBS News Los Angeles. "Your kids are crying and desperate for their mom, so they take off their seatbelt. They're reckless, they're scared, they're afraid, and you just see someone run away with them." The chase began Friday afternoon on Olympic Boulevard in East LA when the unidentified suspect jumped into their car and took off, even though her 3 sons, aged 2, 7, and 8, were still inside. The mother says that not only did she feel helpless without her boys, but she was also unable to call anyone as her phone was inside the car. She says that as the chase continued, the suspect threw her phone out of the window. In a news release issued Saturday morning, LA County deputies said that the woman had gone into the store in the area but left the car running with her children inside. They said that the children's father was in a car nearby when the man jumped inside and started to drive away. He tried to stop the carjacking but was dragged a short distance and fell to the ground. As the high-speed pursuit continued, the suspect headed through Malibu and wound up on PCH, where he continued driving until he crashed into another car at the intersection of Canadum Road in the Point Dume area. He immediately jumped from the car and ran on foot, leaving the boys behind inside the wreckage of the vehicle. Authorities eventually took him into custody following a brief foot chase, during which he was spotted taking off clothing as he ran through thick vegetation and up hillsides. First responders rushed to the boys' aid, and each was taken to the hospital via helicopter. Police said each of the children was in stable condition and suffered injuries ranging from minor to moderate. The eldest 2 brothers remained hospitalized on Saturday, while the youngest was released to his parents' care on Saturday afternoon. All right, that's what we know about what happened. What are your initial thoughts on that one, Trevor?
Yeah, my first thought is that this is terrifying. This is, for any parent, this is just something that is, at first terrifying and absolutely could have been horrific. The article cites injuries. Another source that I'm looking at here cites that the middle child had a dislocated hip and can be seen in a photo leaving the hospital in a cast. The oldest child had a concussion, and the 2-year-old had significant abdominal bruising. And if you watch that video on that article there, you can see that pursuit ends in a super high rate of speed T-bone style accident where the individual that stole the car with the kids in it just plows headfirst into another vehicle, and very easily could have been a fatal crash for sure. So could have been horrendous and much worse. I hesitate to say that the kids are lucky, because it's not lucky to get kidnapped and brutally injured in the way they did. But definitely first take is a terrifying incident that could have been a ton worse. The articles tell us some of the story, but obviously there's a lot more to this story, and I'm not sure, the full circumstances of why she was in one vehicle, dad was in another, all that good stuff. And I think it was the other article that tells us this was a 7-Eleven. So it says that she, and I think this is also referencing the other article, she left the car running and unlocked and entered this 7-Eleven. The dad was in a separate vehicle in the same parking lot, at least what one of the articles references. And when the mom entered the 7-Eleven, that was when the individual reportedly hopped into the car, and it was assumably unlocked and was definitely running, is what the article says, and then was able to leave with the kids. It says that the dad attempted to intervene, and one of the articles cites that he was actually dragged a short distance, wasn't able to gain entry into the vehicle. So some of the lessons, I think on an incident like this, it's super tempting to just jump right into, at least what I've observed when people talk about incidents of this nature, it's very tempting to just dive right into a use of force discussion on what you could have done at the time of the car theft and the kidnapping that was taking place. But I think the bigger glaring issues to me on this one is how it could have been avoided or went totally differently. But ultimately, I think it is a learning lesson on how something like this can be avoided altogether. Some thoughts in my mind are the mom could have taken her kids in with her into 7-Eleven. Dad could have entered the vehicle with his kids and hung out with them while mom ran in for whatever it was that she needed or thought she needed or wanted. Dad could have run in there. Mom could have locked the car with kids in there. I definitely am not here to advocate for leaving your kids unattended in a car. Not only is there legal ramifications to that, but also, moral and ethical. Definitely don't want to leave our kids unattended in the car, but just playing that out, at least at a bare minimum, they would have been locked and secured in a car, and that would have created a barrier to entry versus a running unlocked vehicle for the bad guy to just hop into and take off. Because not only did the kids get left alone and fully vulnerable and at the whim of the bad guy that ended up taking off with them and getting them into that horrific accident, but the bad guy was literally allowed access to a tool that can not only get him away with her children very quickly, but also could have killed, or as he did, seriously injure all three of them. And it could have been a lot worse with a simple turn of the steering wheel there. But I think when we talk about defending our kids, families, and loved ones, we tend to focus on what we're willing to do and how far we're willing to go, which is definitely a necessary internal dialogue that every person needs to have with themselves. But one of the things we can definitely learn from this incident is asking ourselves a question of how far are we willing to let go? Because there's so many conversations about what we're willing to do to protect our kids, but we're not really talking too much about how much we're prioritizing convenience and how willing we are to be, quote unquote, inconvenienced just to protect our kids, which safety always has to come first. It's non-negotiable. And again, I think this incident highlights how taking the lazy train for less than, I don't know, a few seconds, half a minute, maybe a minute, could have definitely had life-ending consequences for her kids. And again, safety has to come first. If I don't know what she was after, but if it was a Fago Pop, Freezy Swirly drink, or anything like that, that's at the end of the day, you're prioritizing that over your kid's safety to me, that's a non-question of what's more important, my kids or a gas station stop. And I could keep going, but I don't want to.
Well, that's the major that's the biggest concern for me right there. I mean, because Trevor, I've pulled into convenience stores, gas stations. I just pulled in and seen kids in a car by themselves with the engine running, and sometimes without the engine running. But that just it makes me angry because they're not taking their responsibility seriously. And if you're not willing to protect your own kids, then you're not really being a parent. And I think so many people these days, they're not like you and I, where we're security conscious all the time. They just they just think, oh, nothing bad is ever going to happen to me, but then it does. And they kind of fell down on their watch, and that just angers me when I see that happen. There are times when I've pulled up, and rather than go in, I've sat outside and just waited until the parent came out, just so that those kids didn't get stolen or whatever. So I've done that before several times, actually. And this is in Los Angeles, which is not near as safe as where you and I live out in rural Michigan. So it's totally different as well. I mean, for all we know, he could have been a human trafficker, and he saw the three kids, and the car was a bonus. We just don't know. But yeah, just bringing the kids in with her, not being lazy, would have solved this one right away. What do you think about what the dad did?
I think what he did with where he was at, he was trying. I'll give him that credit. But again, I don't know the full story here of if this was he's dropping the kids off, she's picking them up. One of the articles cites that they kind of released a joint statement to the press saying that this ruined their family weekend. So that leaves me to believe that they were all kind of together and heading home together. I don't know how much weight, you can say on that, but I just kind of wonder why he wasn't with his kids to begin with, or I don't know if she could have asked him to, hey, I need a pop or a pack of cigarettes or whatever she was going in to get. Can you just run in and grab that for me? So I think, not that I'm trying to sidestep too hard here, but I think, if he could have at least, she's going in, he'll just slide into the car with his kids and, talk to them, entertain them, love on them a little bit versus leave them over there vulnerable. But once that decision's been made, and then he sees somebody trying to take off with his kids, he tried to intervene. I don't know the strategy he used. One of the articles states that he was drug a short distance, so I'm imagining that he was probably trying to grab a hold of the doorknob and gain access. I don't know what all he was attempting to do. If he was attempting to open the door, break the glass. I think he made an effort, but at that point, there was too little,
too late.
Yeah, he definitely didn't have a strategic advantage by any means. He was so far on the back end of the curve on this that I don't know that I can say if he could have done much differently after he made the decision to leave his kids unattended and vulnerable in a run vehicle.
Yeah, I think basically, both parents, they broke the cardinal rule, which is you don't leave your kids unattended, especially in public like that. I mean, gas stations, convenience stores, those are, some of the most dangerous places that you and I go to on a daily basis. And, there's been times when, Sara and I have had separate vehicles, for various reasons, picking up a car from the shop or whatever, and had to make a stop. But something like that, man, I would not have sat in my car. I would have got out. I would have went over there and either got in the car, like you said, or stood outside, basically on guard duty, because man, your kids are a heck of a lot more important than a Slurpee, or a pack of cigarettes or whatever she was going in there to get. It was not that important. But I'm not saying they're bad parents. I'm saying that best case, they're very naive and too innocent. But I guarantee they're not innocent anymore. That probably changed them for the rest of their life. At least that's what I hope.
Yeah. And I think it's this other article here. They're quoted saying that we never imagined all of this would happen to us. And I think you said something to the degree of that constant kind of classic phrase that all of us that are instructors and very immersed in this security, safety, defensive world. Oh, that will never happen to me, or that could never happen here. That's a kind of a phrase that we tend to pick on and try to break down that mentality. But I think those two go hand in hand. Of we never thought this would happen to us. That could never happen to us. It's one of those things, kind of like you mentioned too. I mean, you see it all the time. People do this thousands and thousands of times a year, probably, that people leave their kids in the car. If we want to pick an area, I'm sure it could be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of short windows of time where kids are left alone in a car. And that's my mind goes to that mentality of what you're really saying is that you somehow truly believe that the chances that it won't happen are greater than that it will, which is probably statistically correct. But just to nerd out for a second here, Skip, I thought about the game Yahtzee. Have you played the game Yahtzee? Okay. Have you ever rolled a Yahtzee?
Maybe, but I'm 68 years old and I've been playing a long time. Maybe once, but I don't recall it.
But you've definitely played with somebody who's rolled one, correct?
Yeah.
So your chances on the first roll are 1 in 1,296, or 0.77%. If you look at the 5 dice and run the math. But every time you roll those dice, the chances that happens, they go up, they go up, they go up, and then at some point you're approaching a 1, 2, 4% chance of rolling a Yahtzee, and that's, to me, it's one of those things where, I mean, it's a child's game. It doesn't really relate to, because safety is not a game. It's a responsibility for sure. But we think about this mentality of, oh, that could never happen. The chances are so slim. I'm just going to go ahead and roll the dice. The chances that anything's going to happen are so slim that I'm willing to risk it. But when they perceive that they have that low chance, they're willing to roll the dice. And then once they engage that slippery slope of rolling that dice over and over and gambling the safety over and over, that's when that likelihood of a poor outcome really starts to climb, just like your chances of rolling the Yahtzee. If you're playing the game as many years as you have, your chances get better and better that's going to happen. Whereas if we choose not to gamble the controllables, like controllables in this instance, locking your car, making sure somebody's with the kids, bringing the kids in with you quick, don't gamble those, then we're really tamping down the risk and mitigating, that risk of something horrible happen. And I'm sure you've probably said things similar to this over and over. It's these small things, these habits we create where we foster a lifestyle of safety, prevention, deterrence, and preparedness that it's like running a marathon. It's forged one step at a time, where, this is just something that becomes habit.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I think that's a good analogy, Trevor. The odds, all of them. But one thing that I always tell my students when we're talking about terrible things happening to them, because I'm talking to people who, most of them probably haven't had a terrible, life-changing thing happen to them. I'll just ask them, I'll say, listen, I know this is not likely to happen to you, but how many times does it have to happen to you before it becomes a significant event in your life? And the answer is, well, just one time. So when you take precautions like that, locking the door, bringing the kids inside, whatever, just being a good parent, you lower those chances to almost zero. I don't know. This was unspeakable to me, what the lady did. I know it's tough being a parent, all of that. I've got 7 kids myself, but if you can't do that one thing, and this was so easily preventable, you can't have your head in the sand, and you gotta just admit that, hey, something bad could happen, and I need to plan for it and protect and defend the people that I love. So I think that's probably the biggest takeaway, don't you?
Yeah, this is a classic example of how important the little things are. And that's kind of, where I was going with that probability thing too, is it's, if we over and over and over and over make the small decision and it becomes a habit and a lifestyle to prioritize safety or to neglect it, then we're gonna reap the rewards of what we've sown into. Not that I want to pick on these individuals, but I would imagine it's not the first time. So they've probably taken risks before and it's been all right. And then this was just that one time like that you reference. And that's where I think this really highlights, to everybody that's listening, that has this lifestyle of preparedness and safety mentality. And, we all hear every once in a while. And I think that's really tamped down over the years because people recognize the need to be safety conscious. But that old phrase of, oh, you're just paranoid. And then the counter would be, well, we're not paranoid, we're prepared. I think it just really highlights that being a habit and that being a consistent way that we're keeping those small little barriers. And it's not even offensive. It's not offensive to take your kids with you, to lock your car. Like there's some of these things where you're having to take a little bit more of a abrasive stance in order for the sake of safety. This isn't that. This is very, just moral, ethical, and a legal obligation to actually do these things. So this one's not even really controversial, but it really highlights just the appreciation that I have for people that do take this, and that the small, seemingly small things, which in this case were definitely the big things. I'm so thankful for every parent that chooses to prioritize their kids' safety one small thing at a time every single day, and doesn't have to subject their kids to this horror and go through something like this, because again, I think it just really, really shows how important those seemingly small things that we probably don't even think about, that we just do for the sake of safety, how important those are.
Yeah, I really, I agree with you, Trevor. We're out of time now, but before you go, please tell us once more how people can get a hold of you if they want to find out more about your business.
Yeah, we would love to talk with you. Our phone number is 616-648-5958. You can find us on trinitytrainingandsecurity.com, Facebook, Instagram. Shoot over an email, info@trinitytrainingandsecurity.com. Lots of ways that we would love to engage with you and talk with you.
All right, trinitytrainingandsecurity.com. All right, Trevor, thank you very much for your analysis. Did a good job. We appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Okay, folks, that about wraps it up for this week's show. I've had a good time, and hope you have too. Please don't forget to thank our sponsors, Center Shot Indoor Gun Range at centershotgunrange.com, shootingclasses.com to help you find the right trainer for your needs, Apple Tree Media for website security, and the United States Concealed Carry Association. For all your self-defense needs, go to uscca.com. I've written 20-plus books, and they're all available on Amazon.com in paperback, ebook, and audiobook. This week, check out my apocalyptic novel. It's a 4-book series called The God Virus. I think you'll like it. And also check out the Home Defense Show videos on rumble.com. And if you want training from me in person, then check out Midwest Tactical Training at shootingclasses.com.
Please join us again next week for all your home defense needs. In the meantime, God bless and stay safe.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Home Defense Show. Now, get out there and protect the ones you love. We'll see you next week with more of the best.
Bye-bye, boys! Have fun storming the castle!